Hello, 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 hello. Hello, Algebra 1 students. Welcome back to the videos. Today we are going to be doing 3.6 notes, which is compound inequalities. So for the first three, we are going to solve each compound inequality. So for number 1, we need to write two different equations. We're going to write negative 4 is greater than y plus 2. And then we're going to have y plus 2 is greater than negative 10. You see how there's two different equations here? So then we're going to solve each one of them separately. So for the first one, we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. We get negative 6 is greater than y. And then for the second one, we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. And then we get y is greater than negative 12. So then we're going to combine these to make them into 1. So we have negative 6 is greater than y, and then we have y is greater than negative 12. So that is how you should write your answer right there. So we're going to move on to number 3. So the same thing here. We're going to write two different equations. We're going to have 3 is greater than 11 plus x over 4. And then the second equation is 11 plus x over 4 is greater than or equal to negative 3. So then to solve this first one, we're going to times both sides by 4 to cancel this 4 out and this 4 out. So then we have 12 is greater than 11 plus x. Subtract 11, and we get 1 is greater than x for that equation. So for this one, we're going to do the same thing of times by 4. So this 4 and this 4 cancel, and we get 11 plus x is greater than or equal to negative 12. Subtract 11, and then we get x is greater than or equal to negative 23. So then we're going to combine them. So we have 1 is greater than x, and then we have x is greater than or equal to negative, negative 23. And that's our answer. I want you guys to pause this right now and do number 3 on your own, and then we can come back and see if we get the same answer. Okay, I'm back. You can see what I did. For the first one, we just have 4 is less than or equal to y plus 2. So we subtracted 2 to get 2 is less than or equal to y. And then for the next one, we had to distribute the negative 3. And then we had to add the 3y to both sides. Then subtract the 2, divide by 4, and we get y is less than or equal to 1. So our answer should be 2 is less than or equal to y, and then y is less than or equal to 1. So that's our answer right there. I'm going to move on to number 4. Solve each compound inequality and then graph our solution. So this one we already have, it already split it up. So we're going to solve for m on both equations. So for this one, we have to add 5. Oh, subtract 5. My bad. Subtract 5 from both sides. So we get negative m is less than negative 1. We can't have a negative m, so we're going to divide by negative 1 to get m. And since we divided by a negative, we have to switch our sign, is greater than 1. So that's our first equation. And then we have 7m is greater than 35, so we're going to divide by 7 on both sides to get m by itself. So we have m is greater than 5. Okay, so now we're going to graph it. Let's put 0 right here. Okay, so m is greater than 1, so we're going to go to 1 right here, and it's an open circle because it's not equal to. And then m is greater than 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if you see, the 5 will be covered up by the m is equal to 1. So our our graph will just look like one graph, even though it's two equations. Because you see m is greater than 1, so that means it has to be able to be 5 also. So our graph is an open circle at 1 and then a line going to your right. Okay, we're going to do number 5. So to do number 5, we're going to subtract 3 from both sides of this equation to get 3x is less than or equal to negative 4 divide by 3, and we get x is less than or equal to negative 4 thirds. And to solve this one, we just subtract 2 from both sides. So we get 5x is greater than or equal to 10 divided by 5, and we get x is greater than or equal to 2. I want you guys to pause it and then do the graph on your own, and let's see if and make sure we get the same graph. Okay, I'm back and you can see my graph. We actually have two graphs going two opposite ways because x is less than or equal to negative 4 thirds. So we have a closed circle on negative 4 thirds going to the left. And then we have a closed circle on 2 going to the right because x is greater than or equal to 2. We're going to move on to number 6 and 7. Okay, for number 6 and 7, we write a compound inequality that represents each phrase, then graph our solution. So all real numbers less than 4. So we're going to put a 4 here, and it's all real numbers less than 4. So 4 has to be greater than x, because all the numbers are less than 4, and then it's all real numbers greater than or equal to 7. So x will have to be greater than or equal to 7. So we can write it in one inequality just like that. So we're going to graph this. Let's put a 0 here, and we'll go, I'll count up by 2's. 4, 6, 8. I just go opposite so it'll be easier to see. Okay, so we put an open circle on 4, and then we put a closed circle on 7. Okay, x is less than 4, so it's all the numbers less than 4, so we shade to the left. Then it's all the numbers greater than or equal to 7, so we shade to the right. So we have two different equations. Okay, I want you guys to pause this again and do number 7 on your own, and then we'll come back and make sure we have the same answer. Okay, I'm back, and you can see what I did. The word that you guys might not have known is inclusive. And inclusive means it includes those two numbers. So that's why I have closed circles here. And so it's between 3 feet and 5 feet. So 3 feet will have to be the smallest, and 5 feet will have to be the greatest. So we have 3 feet is less than or equal to x, and x is less than or equal to 5. And then you can see our graph is in between those two numbers because those are the numbers that the fish tank area can be between. We're going to move on to number 8. Write each interval as an inequality. Graph the solutions. Okay, I just want to show you a parenthesis. The parentheses are equal to greater than or less than, and then a bracket going either way is equal to less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. So the brackets include the number and the parentheses do not include the number. So for number 8, we have negative 1, and since it's a parenthesis, it's just negative 1 will be the smallest number, so negative 1 is less than, and then we have our variable, we'll use x, and then we have it goes to negative 10 and it includes negative 10, so is less than or equal to 10. So you see negative 1 is our smallest number and 10 is our biggest number, and it includes the number 10. So we're going to graph this. So this is, you guys can make your graph any way you want, but this is how I'm going to do it. Okay, so we put our circle on -1, and it's an open circle because it does not include it. So negative x is greater than -1, so it's going to go this way somewhere, but we need to see what way it goes past 10. So we put a circle on 10 and close it in, and x is less than 10, so we know that the graph will be shaded in between those. Hopefully you guys understand that one. I'm going to do number 9 with you guys. I just need you guys to do one change. I need you to make this a parenthesis and this a bracket. I switched those on accident. You'll never, on infinity, you'll never have a bracket because you can't ever include infinity because infinity is you never will quite get to infinity ever. So you can't ever include infinity. So for this one, we're going to have two different equations because we have or. So for this one, x infinity is going to be the smallest number. So x is less than 0, but it includes 0, so it'll be less than or equal to. Because it wants all the numbers that are less than 0. So all the numbers less than 0 would be x is less than 0. So for this one, we are going to have x, and it wants all the numbers greater than 0 because it wants it all the way up to 0, up to infinity. So all the numbers greater than 5. And it does not include it because it's a parenthesis. So those are the two equations that we have. And now we're going to graph them. We're going to let's put 0 right here. We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll put 5 right there. Okay, so we have a closed circle on 0, and x is less than 0, which would be going to your left. So we're going to shade that. And then we have an open circle at 5, and x is greater than 5, so we're going to shade to our right. Hopefully you guys got that. I want you guys to do number 10 and 11 on your own. It's just doing the opposite of what we did. So we're going to write an interval notation, and then I want you guys to come back and we'll see if we get the same answer. Okay, I'm back. You can see what I did. It wants all the numbers less than -2, so all the numbers would be up to -infinity to 2, and it's parentheses because it's not equal to -2. So then on number 11, it's the same equation over here, so we have -infinity to 2, and then it wants all the numbers greater than or equal to 1, so it's 1 is inclusive, so it has a bracket all the way to infinity, and you can see our graph right there. Okay, we're going to move on to number 12. So when you read this, it wants all the test averages to be between 84 and 86, so to get a B in the class. So 84 is the smallest we can get, and 86 is the biggest. So that would be our inequality, and then we have something in here. And to get the average of anything, we add all of them up and then divide by the number we added. So we have 86 plus 85 plus 80 plus x will be the fourth test. So that'll tell us what our score needs to be on that fourth test, divided by 4 because that's the total amount. So then we have, if we times both sides by 4, we have 336 is less than or equal to, and then if you add those up, it's 251 is greater than or equal to 344. Oh, plus x, I'm sorry, plus x. Then if you subtract 251 from both sides, we get 85 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 93. So our test scores will have to be between 85 and 93. Hope you guys have a good night. I'll see you guys in class.